Joining me in the studio is strategy consultant Dikpo Oyewole, and joining me via Skype from Abuja is managing editor Avalon Daily, Ayodele Adio. Gentlemen, good morning. Thank you for joining us on TVC Breakfast. Let me begin with you, Ayodele, if you can hear me. When you look at the reasons given by the government saying that the spread of misinformation and fake news can have real-world violent consequences on its decision or on the nation. That is one of the major reasons why it is banning or why it banned the use of Twitter. Basically, a lot of persons have also talked about our use of social media and especially for the spread of fake news and its attendant impact. Now, when you look at this closely, can you say, or would you say that the use of social media is a threat to our national security?
Good morning. Thank you for having me. Now, there is no doubt, and the government is quite spot on when it says that Twitter has been a tool for spreading, fake news and false information across the country. They're quite right about that. And of course, many of us have also complained about the preponderance of fake news that is circulating across the social media. The question to ask, however, is the appropriate response to the spread of fake news across social media be the entire shutting down of the platform? And the answer to that is very simple. It's no, because that in itself does not solve the problem of fake news. Because whatever platform, for instance, fake news is currently circulating on Facebook. Fake news is currently circulating on Facebook. Fake news is currently circulating on WhatsApp. Fake news is currently circulating on various other platforms. So the problem to fake news is not shutting down the entire social media platform. It's about coming up with an appropriate strategy to deal with the spread of fake news. So you have clearly identified the problem, which is fake news. And you're spot on by identifying or diagnosing that problem. The issue, however, is that you have chosen to solve the problem in a very, very wrong way that has far-reaching consequences on several Nigerians, and it actually has ceded ground to the spread of more fake news. Because as it were, when Twitter was running and existed, you had several global and local platforms that had set up fact-check desks that consistently fact-checked fake news. You had credible news organizations that were doing the job of fact-checking fake news, because you remember that most Nigerians, at least a certain class of Nigerians, get their news first from Twitter. And so once you take that out, and the ability to verify those news from those particular news stations on Twitter, then you leave them vulnerable to the fake news that are currently circulating on WhatsApp and on Facebook and on several other platforms that these agents of anarchy are using to spread these propaganda. So I think that they are right to say that fake news is a problem, but they are completely wrong in shutting down the entire media platform.
Let's bring the conversation to the studio now. Dikpo, you have been following up on all of this development, and when they had the meeting with the international community, what the Minister for Foreign Affairs, Geoffrey Onyeama, said was that until there is a guarantee for responsible use of the platform, that until then will they be able to lift the ban on the use of the Twitter. And the question on the lips of a lot of Nigerians is, what is responsible? How is it that they have to begin to bear the responsibility now when it is that it wasn't their tweet that led to the actions being taken by government?
Exactly. So that was another question I asked, that who provides the guarantee? because I find it quite interesting that they're citing fake news, talking about responsible use of social media. And it brings me back to a couple of months ago when an aide in the presidency himself tweeted about a security situation which involved the kidnapping of over 100 school children, where he first denied it happened and then said there were just 12, and later recanted and said that, oh, he was sorry, he made a mistake, and there was a lot of outrage on social media. And then we're asking that, was there going to be any consequence for spreading that fake news? Because that particular incident had a huge implication, a huge effect on our national security.
Right.
Because you'd expect that somebody who works within the presidency has up-to-date information, real-time information. I mean, he has the ear of the president. He's probably present in certain briefings with the president. So if you come out and say that not over 100 children were abducted, that there were just 12, as opposed to the information we got earlier that there were over 100, we start to ask questions. And then that was debunked and there were no consequences. So the question is, the guarantees to come from who? And we're talking about responsible use of social media. That wasn't the first time, that wasn't the last time that we had certain folks in the corridors of power, in this current government, who have come out to spread information that hasn't been true so far. Yes, there should be responsible use of social media, and we should all be responsible users. Just yesterday, I mean, just last night, I saw a broadcast on someone's phone. Now, it read, oh, avoid certain areas, like 6 of them. And then there was another video sent with it. And then I asked, no, don't share this yet. Let me take a look at the video. Because it was saying, oh, something around Fulani herdsmen. They've infiltrated certain areas in Lagos State. They listed the areas, and then there was a video. And I asked, let me watch the video. I watched the video twice. I saw that maybe it was a police station that was attacked. I said, okay, so where is the proof that it was this group of people that attacked this police station? Nobody there in the recording said it was them. I said, these are 2 separate incidences.
Right.
But somehow somebody has been able to send them together to show that, or to imply that it was one thing. So yes, it is the role and responsibility of everybody to use social media responsibly. However, shutting it down is throwing the baby away with the bathwater, and that has never, ever been the solution to any problem.
Right. So if we are talking about responsibility now, because I want to understand, like a lot of Nigerians would want to understand when we're talking about being responsible on social media, would you say, coming to you now, Ayodele, that perhaps the platform and its owner has a huge role to play when we are talking about being responsible here?
I think the owner has done quite an incredible job trying to make the platform a lot more responsible than it was several years ago. So if you go on Twitter, shortly before all of this hasty decision happened, if you read a story just with the headline, you would see a tiny notification beneath the tweet that says you may want to read the entire article. If you are watching a live stream on Twitter and somebody made a comment, probably like an abusive and insulting comment, you will see a notification that pops up immediately that would ask you, is this comment appropriate and should measures be taken, and gives you an option to click yes, no, or maybe. And once you click no, the comments are taken out, and to a very large extent, the account that tweeted that very comment could be blocked or temporarily suspended. During the COVID-19, we're still in the pandemic anyway. Once any information is put out that is contrary to what is described as global standards, you would also see a notification that pops up almost immediately telling the reader that this information is not correct, or it provides a link to where the reader can find an appropriate information. So the platform is consistently, providing tools and providing avenues where it can counter the spread of fake news, and doing so many things to ensure that the reader or the people who use that platform have the opportunity to sieve information, or at least points the reader to a direction where they can get a more robust information about a particular issue that has been posted on that timeline. So to that extent, you can argue that the owner of the platform is doing, or they are doing all they can do to ensure that the reader is safe to a very large extent.
So Nigerians are wondering, why the government feels that perhaps Twitter has some sinister move in the country.
Let me ask you a question. I'd like to ask you a very quick question, a series of quick questions. On Saturday last week, 11 people were killed in Ibarapa local government in Igongon. Was it the use of Twitter that caused people to be killed there?
Not at all.
When 200 boys were kidnapped in Niger State from the Islamia Secondary School, was it a tweet that led to the 200 boys being kidnapped? If you look at the insecurity across our country, can you connect any tweet to the dastardly act that is happening in our country? You'll see that that does not happen. In fact, it is Twitter that sometimes even helps the Nigerian people to either locate somebody that is kidnapped or prevent them from going to a location where there's trouble, because you see on Twitter that there's probably trouble in a particular area, in a particular location, and you avoid that place. So if you look at our insecurity challenges in the country, there is no way it is linked to what people tweet on that social media platform. And it's a joke to assume that that is what is fueling insecurity, or that exactly in itself is what is putting our national security at risk. I concede that the way certain characters have used the platform could be inciting, and you can deal with those individuals as individuals who are being irresponsible using that platform, than to throw away the entire baby with the water. So I think again that this argument of national security is a bit lazy, because the real issues that are driving insecurity in the country are visible to everybody to see. There's terrorism in the Northeast, there's criminality, and many security experts would argue that there's been a merge between ISWAP and this banditry in the Northwest that is presently spreading across northwestern states and encroaching into the north central states. You have a problem with IPOB in the Southeast. Clearly, you know where the agitations are coming from. You know the drivers of these criminality in the Southeast. It's your job to deal with that. So please leave Twitter out of this security challenges or security problems that you have. In fact, I even think that the very mere fact that you're shutting down the avenue where millions of Nigerians express themselves, you are even actually escalating the problem, because people have no place to express their grievances, to express their displeasure, and then it getting some tension.
Okay. Now back to you, Dikpo. The federal government's capacity to enforce this ban was brought to scrutiny as well, that we do not have the capacity because a lot of persons decided to opt for the virtual private networks.
Yes.
And now the government decided, okay, let's go to China, embrace China to help us build a firewall to ensure that those who are opting for using the VPN do not still have access to the use of social media, trying to bring about regulation. And then NBC came out to say that no media houses should deactivate their Twitter. I mean, where do you see all of this headed? The back and forth, the firewall, media houses having to deactivate their tweet. In fact, Malami just deactivated his, I think yesterday, and a lot of persons are asking, so how would he see those who are making use of Twitter and all of it? Where do you see all of this headed, basically?
Unfortunately, where we see it headed may not be a very pleasant place, because one, the question is, now you've been able to suspend Twitter, and then you're trying to take down the VPN. Now, the VPN doesn't just work for Twitter. It works for other social media handles. It works for the entire internet. So is the goal to shut down the internet? Because now there's something called the law of precedence. Now we've been able to somehow, so far, get away with suspending Twitter or banning the use of Twitter in Nigeria. As of last Friday, we had this conversation here on this platform where we're talking about the president's deleted tweets, and then before the end of the day, the suspension came up. The question is, by this next Friday, June 11th, are we going to hear that maybe Facebook was taken down or its other affiliates?
There are similar talks about that.
Yes, so with its other affiliates, because now if you're taking down Facebook, it's not just going to be Facebook, it's going to be WhatsApp and Instagram. So we're gradually moving to a place where we're having a total internet shutdown in Nigeria. And the question is, what is the objective? Is there something that is going on that I wants to go on that I don't want the world to see? Because they keep talking about national security and Twitter. And like I really rightly said, Twitter is a platform that has helped numerous Nigerians get out of kidnapping situations. It's a platform that has helped uncover a lot of criminality. It's a platform where people have raised money for healthcare. They've raised money to go study abroad. They've raised money to do a lot of legitimate things, a lot of good. Now you're telling me that that platform is suddenly a risk to national security. That's where a lot of people get their first-hand information. If people see, for example, Otedola trending on social media, their mind doesn't first go to the entrepreneur. Their mind goes to the bridge. And then you click on it hastily to see that, okay, is there something else going on there? And 9 out of 10 times you are right. You are correct. So people know to avoid that route. It also helps us to curb fake news, because there are a lot of platforms on there who have dedicated their time, their resources to ensure that they fact check a lot of things that go out. There was also, talking about fake news and how people use social media irresponsibly, there was also this message that was sent out a couple of days ago where he was saying that, where some fellow said he was kidnapped around Port Harcourt or something like that, and then subsequently he released another post on Facebook that, oh, that was a work of fiction. Right. And I asked myself, how is that being responsible? Because this has gone far and wide. Okay, so because we still need to have this conversation around responsible use of social media, but saying you want to shut down Twitter, you want to shut down the use of VPN, for me, it does portray a lot of nefarious intention behind it, and saying that you want to curb the
Does it reflect how concerned we are about our position in perhaps international community, how we look, our outlook at the international community? Does it reflect how concerned we are about that?
Of course, it always does. Everything the government does reflects poorly on us, okay? Either we would like it or not. Like I said, while we're off air, that the first reaction I got from this whole Twitter suspension was I was embarrassed, because now we've joined the Committee of Nations that aren't doing so well economically, and
democracy is seen to be non-existent.
Where democracy is practically non-existent or just a mere suggestion. And to think that Nigeria, with the place we believe we occupy in the continent, and how people still regard us, certain nations still regard us with some level of respect, and now we seem to like to take one step forward, do a 180, and then go full throttle in the other direction. For me, it is very questionable, and it is very, very frightening. Saying that we're a nation where we're looking for foreign direct investment, we keep touting the ease of doing business. This doesn't portray it. And a couple of months ago, we had the conversation around Twitter moving their headquarters to Ghana. And this is happening. So, I mean, could you really blame them then?
Right.
Could you really blame them?
Ayatollah, let's quickly get your final word on this while we wrap this segment off.
Oh, yes. I think that there are more responsible and clever ways to deal with. So let's just quickly separate the issues here. If fake news is your problem, or the spread of misinformation, there are clever ways to deal with it. In fact, the government can also create even more opportunities for Nigerians, seeing the level of huge unemployment to deal with in our country. And you can deploy resources to news organizations, to non-governmental organizations who will support the fight of fake news across social media platforms. It's done in several countries across the world. Right. So you have a tiny war room to deal with misinformation. If national security is your problem, then you need to rejig the national security architecture and focus on dealing with the security challenges that we're facing across the country. Right. Because as we speak, my dear sister, we are heading to starvation very, very soon, because every center that is producing food in abundance in our country is currently under attack, and farmers are unable to produce. And so if we do not deal with the issues that are bothering us closely, and we're chasing shadows, I'm afraid we're going to wake up into more trouble than we bargained for. And I also think, just as a passing comment,
quickly, because we need to
go. Broadcast organizations, just like the newspaper did in the 1990s, in the 80s and the 90s, that challenged the decision to shut down newspapers in court. I think that you organizations have done an incredible work and you're doing good to the community, and you should challenge these decisions in court.
All right.
That you have a right to spread good information, and you're doing public good by doing journalism, and no one should just abruptly
we'll have
decide
to
that
leave it
you
there
should
now. Managing Editor, Avalon Daily, Ayodele Adio, thank you for your time. Strategy Consultant, Dikpo Oyewole, we have to wrap it up now. Thank you for your time. We take a